Hey, welcome to Vance Tried It. Today, we're going to be making an impossible hamburger pie. Now, what makes this pie impossible? That is because it magically creates its own pie crust. Okay, so it's not magic, it's more like science. But we don't start in this pie with a pie crust because it is going to create its own crust. Now, we're going to start off by taking some olive oil and putting it into our pan, which is already gotten hot. And to that, we're going to add, this is about a quarter of a Vidalia onion. We're going to throw this in there. We're going to get this started first and foremost. We just want to get this kind of softened up and maybe even caramelized a little bit. It's not going to take long because, like I said, I went ahead and heated my pan up in advance. We're just going to give that just a minute in there. But hey, let me tell you something. I am using a new microphone today. So I'd really be interested, especially for those of you who watch some of my other videos. Do you notice a difference in the sound quality? Is it better? Worse? The same? Let me know down in the comments what do you think about this new mic. And hey, while you're down there, would you go ahead and like this video and share? And if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe so you can get notified when you ring that bell about my putting out new videos. So here we go. Our onions are already starting to brown up. And that's just what we want. And we're not going to let them go all the way there like we normally would if all we were doing was the onions, because we're going to now put in 1 pound of hamburger. Now this is 90-10, and that's typically what I use if I'm going to be crumbling it, which this is going to be a crumbled hamburger. So just break it up with my spatula first, a little bit, just like that. Now, what I like to do now is I like to go ahead and put in some seasoning in with my hamburger. So what I'm using today is Meat Church Barbecue. This is the Gospel All-Purpose Rub. I'm going to be putting this right here on this hamburger as it's cooking so it can cook right into the meat. I don't know how much I'm putting on there. Probably about 4 tablespoons maybe. I just covered it really well. And then I'm just going to stir it around a little bit. Now, that's one of the other reasons I like to use a 90-10. Because if you're using a high fat content meat, then you're going to have a lot of fat drippings in your pan. And then when you drain this off, you're going to lose a lot of the seasoning. I don't want to lose all my seasoning, so I use a lower fat content beef. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and brown this up. Let me get it back over the heat. We're going to go ahead and brown this up. And when it is done browning up, we're going to get back to the next step in this impossible hamburger pie. We'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so I have gone ahead and I have drained off this meat. So I got the fat out of it. And now I'm going to take just a regular old pie pan. I'm going to spray just a little bit of olive oil in here. Just give it a little bit of a greasing, right like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about half of this hamburger mixture, just like this. I'm going to pour it right into this pan. I'm going to spread it out, but here's the thing. you want to make sure you're not pressing it down. You don't want this to be compacted, and you'll see why here in just not too much longer. So I got that going on. Now what I have here is some Colby and Monterey cheese mixture, and I'm just going to sprinkle some of that right over the top there. Now this is actually pre-shredded. Now I know I tell y'all quite a bit, shred your own cheese, especially if you're making a cheese sauce. But here's the thing, we're not making a cheese sauce today. And even though it's really always better to shred your own cheese, sometimes it's really easy to use the pre-shredded stuff. And this is one of those recipes where it's not exactly necessary to shred your own cheese because we're not really making a cheese sauce. So if you want to use pre-shredded, go ahead. If you want to shred your own, even better. And so I've got that done there. And now I'm just going to put the rest of this hamburger in here. Just like this. And once again, we're just spreading it out a little bit, making sure not to get it compacted down. And then we're going to take the rest of our cheese, and this was about 1.5 cups. And if you're doing your own, that's probably going to be about 4 ounces of cheese. And so I'm going to put that all in there, just like that. Now I'm going to go back over the top just a little bit more of our seasoning mix, just to take care of any of the seasoning we might take it out when we got the grease out of our hamburger meat. So we've done all that, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the topping, and this is where the magic happens. What I have here is 1 cup of Bisquick. Now, you can actually make your own baking mix, which is actually a little bit better. This does have seed oil in it. Bisquick has some seed oil in it. And I'm not a big fan of seed oil, but I had this Bisquick and I wanted to get rid of it. But you can make your own. And I'm going to put directions for that down in the description. And so if you want to avoid the seed oil, you can use your own homemade baking mix. It's going to be even better than this Bisquick. But I'm using Bisquick today. And to that, I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of milk. And to that, I'm going to add 2 eggs. Now, when I was getting all this stuff out today, I actually dropped an egg on the floor. Man, I have to tell you, one of the messiest things you can do and have on your floor is egg, because that egg white just spread everywhere. It's super hard to see. And so I guess the good news is my floor is really clean now, because I pretty much, after I used a towel to get all that up, I pretty much had to just completely mop the whole floor to make sure I got all the egg white off of there. So we got that. Let me wash up my hands real quick, because now I got some of that egg white on my hand. All right, here we go. So I have in here the baking mix, the milk, and the egg. And we're just going to whisk it up really well here. And it's okay if it's a little bit lumpy. It ain't gonna hurt anything. It's kind of like when you're making pancakes. You know, when you're making pancakes, you don't want it completely smooth, because then you're gonna not have good fluffy pancakes. Same thing with this little mixture we're making here. Give it a good mix and leave a few lumps in there. And not only is that okay, it's actually preferable. So I'm going to put that in there. Now we're just going to pour this right over the top. Now, it is already starting to seep down in between the meat and the cheese and all that good stuff. And that's why you don't want to compact it down there, because you need this to drain in there in between everything, because this is actually going to end up being your crust. So I have the hamburger, the cheese, the onion, and the baking mix with some milk and egg in there. And I have a 350-degree oven. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the 350-degree oven for 45 minutes. And now this is key too. When we take it out, we're going to let it rest for at least 10 minutes so it can continue to set up as it starts to cool down, so that it'll come out really nice when we cut it up, take it out, and start eat it. So we'll see you in about an hour. Okay, so we have our impossible hamburger pie all baked up and cooled off. And so now all that's left to do is cut a slice and give it a taste. So let's just go right here. So you can see how well that all holds together in there, right here on our plate. But what we really want to know is, what does it taste like? So let's give it a try. I mean, this is so simple and yet so flavorful. And really, you just need to make sure that you're putting plenty of seasoning on the meat. But then you have the cheese and the biscuit mix in there. And it all just comes so well together. And you can see how well this holds together. You don't need a crust. It comes out almost like a quiche, but it works so well. And you could do so many things with this. You could put some sour cream on here. You could put some salsa on here. You could put hot sauce on here. Or you can just eat it just like it comes out. And it is delicious, even without anything else on it. Bottom line is, I tried it. You should too. Okay, so we have.